You know that feeling. You've sent the carefully crafted proposal. You followed up after what felt like a genuinely promising conversation, and then nothing. Crickets, complete radio silence. And your mind starts to spiral. Did I say something wrong? Did I misread the situation? Or was any of that even real? I have been there more than once. And one particular experience has stayed with me. I met an HR leader at a conference, and when she heard what I do, her face lit up. She thrust her business card at me with such enthusiasm, I nearly dropped it. And she said, "We have to connect. This is exactly what my organization needs." I returned to my office, energized, sent a warm follow-up, and then a phone call, and then one more thoughtful note. Nothing. Days turned into weeks, and weeks turned into months. And I want to talk to you about that today because professional ghosting is one of those behaviors that affects almost everyone in professional life, and yet it rarely gets examined with the honesty and nuance it deserves. I'm Trina Booz, CEO of Boost Academy of Excellence. I train professionals on workplace skills that actually get them promoted. Today, we're talking about professional ghosting and what's really behind it, what it costs, and most importantly, what we can choose to do differently. Because this is a skill conversation as much as it is an etiquette one. Before anything else, I want to start with some nuance. Ghosting is rarely as simple as it looks from the outside. I once had a colleague who was frustrated because a client had missed a deadline by 3 weeks with no explanation whatsoever. The team was ready to write them off entirely. And when the client finally responded, we learned that they had experienced a sudden family tragedy and simply hadn't been in a headspace to think about work. They hadn't even managed to set an out-of-office alert. That moment genuinely changed how I think about silence. Sometimes ghosting is avoidance of a difficult conversation. Sometimes it's depression or anxiety, making even a simple 2-line response feel genuinely overwhelming. Sometimes it is organizational chaos, a genuine emergency, or being buried so deep under competing priorities that everything non-urgent just falls away. I think about that HR leader from the conference sometimes. I don't know what was happening on her end, and I've made peace with not knowing. But here's what I do know. A lot of professional ghosting, the kind that isn't explained by genuine crisis or circumstance, comes down to one thing: a skill gap. Specifically, the skill of delivering difficult news and the courage to do it even when it's uncomfortable. And that's the part worth developing. And that's what I want to spend some time on today. Here's something worth understanding about professional ghosting. Some people who do it significantly underestimate the ripple effect of their silence. When you go quiet after receiving a proposal, the person on the other end isn't just waiting for an answer. They're in limbo, unable to move forward, unable to redirect their energy toward other opportunities, quietly replaying the interaction, wondering what they missed. That's not a neutral outcome. That is a real impact on a real person, usually one who put genuine thought and effort into reaching out to you. And when it comes to candidates, this one is worth paying close attention to. Some jurisdictions are now moving toward making candidate notification a legal requirement after interviews. Ghosting a candidate isn't just poor etiquette anymore. In some places, it's against the law, and yet it still happens, which tells you something about how deeply ingrained this behavior is and how much work there is still to do. When a colleague, a collaborator, or a connection who reached out in good faith is met with silence, something leaves a mark that's hard to undo. Not dramatically, quietly. And here's a practical reality that is worth keeping in mind from a pure professional awareness standpoint. Tables turn, and professional circles are smaller than they feel in the moment. The person you didn't respond to when you were busy might be the exact person you need a favor from next year. Not as a warning, just as a reality worth holding on to. So why does ghosting happen so often in professional settings, even among people who are otherwise considerate and well-intentioned? In my experience, it almost always comes down to the same thing. Nobody taught us how to deliver difficult news gracefully. And when we don't have that skill, silence feels like the path of least resistance. Saying this isn't the right fit can feel awkward. Or saying we decided to go in a different direction feels uncomfortable, especially when you know the other person will be disappointed. Saying, I don't have the capacity for this right now feels like admitting something you'd rather not admit. But here's what I want you to hear. That discomfort lasts about 30 seconds. The silence that you leave behind lasts much longer. And delivering difficult news is a learnable skill. And like all skills, it gets easier with repetition. It starts with having a few simple phrases ready, ones that are honest, brief, and kind. This isn't the right fit for us right now, but I appreciate you reaching out. Or, we've decided to move in a different direction. Thank you for your time and your proposal. Or you could say, I don't have capacity for this at this moment, but I didn't want to leave you without a response. None of these are comfortable to say, but all of them are professional, and all of them leave the other person with something that they can actually work with, which is far more respectful than leaving them with nothing. So what do you do when you're on the receiving end? First, take a breath before you react and check your assumptions. There may be something happening on the other side that you know nothing about. Follow up once or twice with grace, a brief warm message, not chasing and not pressing, just leaving the door open, and then redirect your energy. Because here's the truth, you cannot control whether someone responds. You cannot control their priorities, their mental state, or their communication values. What you can control is how long you let their silence take up space in your head. Use it as information. If someone demonstrates early in a professional relationship that communication isn't something they prioritize, that's data. And it's worth asking yourself honestly, is this someone I want to build a long-term professional relationship with? A practical tip that has served me well: present proposals live whenever you can. I learned this after being on the receiving end of silence one too many times. A live presentation creates real dialogue, prevents ghosting, and dramatically increases your closing rate. And when someone has been in a genuine relationship with you, they're far less likely to simply disappear. And keep multiple opportunities moving at all times. When you're not depending on one person or one deal, a single non-response loses its power to derail you. I want to end with something I think is worth sitting with, not as a guilt trip, but as a genuine professional development question. If you've ever gone quiet on someone, and most of us have at some point, it's worth asking, what made silence feel easier than a difficult conversation? What skill was missing in that moment? And what would a more confident, more prepared version of you have done differently? Because that's really what this comes down to. Not character, it's skill. The skill of having a hard conversation briefly and kindly. The skill of respecting someone else's time and effort enough to give them a real answer. The skill of communicating with integrity even when the news is not good. Those skills are buildable, and the professionals who build them, the ones who respond even when it's hard, who close the loop even when there's nothing in it for them, those are the people that others want to work with, refer to, and return to again and again. Professional ghosting is one of those behaviors that leaves a mark that's hard to undo. On trust, on reputation, on the professional relationships that everything is built on. You know how it feels to be on the receiving end of silence. So the next time you find yourself about to go quiet on someone, pause. Ask yourself if what you're really avoiding is a 30-second uncomfortable sentence, and then go ahead and send it. Because at the end of the day, people want to do business with people they trust. And trust is built on one conversation at a time, especially the difficult ones. If this episode resonated with you, I would love to hear about it. And honestly, I'd love to hear your experiences with it too, whether you've been ghosted or you're willing to reflect on a time you went quiet yourself. Subscribe, leave a 5-star rating, and share this with someone in your professional network who would find it valuable. And if you're interested in bringing communication skills training or leadership development to your organization, visit boostacademyofexcellence.com to learn more. Thank you for listening. Now go respond to that message you've been putting off. I'll see you in the next one.